Hello everybody, we are from University of Indonesia, from Engineering Department 2017. This is our English assignment from Miss Henning, and we're going to give you a quick presentation about generations. Before going further, we want to introduce ourselves. We have Deandria Nabila, Shania Putri Andalussy, Lila Maritza, Sulthan Daffa, Tona Dondo, and me, Grace Nathalie. Let's get started. We often hear and use phrases or words that we don't fully understand. We cannot have a detailed understanding of every word and phrase, particularly when the word belongs to the jargon of a larger body of knowledge. However, when the jargon is used frequently, like generation, Gen X, millennials, baby boomers, or anything else, it seems important we have some reasonably good idea of what these terms mean. A generation is a group of people born around the same time and raised around the same place. People in the same generation exhibit similar characteristics, preferences, and values over their lifetime. Generations exhibit similar characteristics such as communication, shopping styles, and motivation preferences because they have experienced similar trends at the same life stage and through similar media. For example, social media, television, or mobile phone. As you can see in the screen, there are three trends that have shaped each of generations. The first one is the parenting style. Parenting is promoting and supporting the physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. For example, the parenting style of baby boomers, the oldest generations that's still alive, is more strict than the others and sometimes used violence. If you compare to the perennial or parenting in millennial, they more likely to wait to have kids and easily get divorced. Perennial also love to documenting their kids' life to social media. Speaking of social media, the second trend that differs each generations is the technology. Past generations used mail, radio, and newspapers to get latest information, but now we can get it handy from worldwide. Last but not least, economics also make a difference of each generations. Parenting style, technology, and economic trends have shaped the generations that will develop and share similar values, beliefs, and expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to remember that at an individual level, everyone is different. But looking at people through a generational lens offers useful predictability for those trying to reach, inform, or persuade a large cross-section of a population. There are some differences between the generations, and it is important to know the years when each generation begins and ends. We will explain you about the generations that still exist today, from baby boomers, Generation X, Y or millennials, Generation Z, or iGen until Alpha.
Baby boomers. The boom generation is used to describe the massive birth after World War II, as known as baby boom or boomies. The boom generation born in 1946 until 1960, and now the baby boomers is predominantly in their 50s and 70s. There are approximately 76 million boomers in the world. The boom generation generally have a similar dream. As an example is the boomers usually dream of prosperity, having a good automobiles, have a big house, and fancy toys. The boom generation is a generation of optimism, like to explore and achievement. In the boom generation, there was increase in the level of education, financial, and also social opportunities. The boom generation illustrates stability, prosperity, and opportunity. The boomer have a lot of social movement, like civil rights movement, women's movement, and sexuality movement. The boomer also have a different views about politics, war, and social justice. Why the boomers have so many views and movement? Because the boomers generation experienced dramatic shift in educational, economic, and social opportunities. And the boomers values individual choice. They respect the freedom of choice for every person, community involvement, and they also values prosperity and ownership of property or automobiles. And the most important thing is health and wellness. And the boomers are very adaptive to the situation, very goal-oriented, and focus on individual choices and freedom. Mostly have a positive attitude toward everything and very family-oriented. The boomers are not perfect generation. They also have a negative attributes. The boomers are very selfish, and the most noticeable is the boomers very arrogant toward the younger generation. Here are the sources.
The next generation is Generation X. Do you guys know what is the definition of Generation X? Generation X is the generation born after that of the baby boomers, roughly from the early 60s to late 70s, typically perceived to be disaffected and directionless. Generation X era. Generation X came of age in an era of two-income families, rising divorce rates, and a faltering economy. The general thing about Generation X. The range of birth years between 1965 until 1980. The other names of Generation X are Gen X, the doer, Post-Boomers, 13th generation. Their focus are on tasks and results. And for the life balance, they focus on clearer balance between work and families. Characteristics of Generation X. First, they are individualistic. They are independent, resourceful, and self-sufficient. It's because they went through the situation where their parents are busy with their work. Second, technologically adept. They are the first generation to grow up with computers. And third, they are flexible. They adapt well to change and are tolerant of alternative lifestyle. The core values of Generation X. First, balance. Second, diversity. Third, entrepreneurial. Fourth, fun. Fifth, highly educated. Sixth, independent. 7. Informality. 8. Pragmatism. 9. Self-reliance. 10. Skepticism. The attributes of Generation X. Adaptable, confident, competent, ethical, focused on results, highest number of divorced parents, and self-sufficient. And here are the sources.
Now I want to tell you about Generation Y. Generation Y is generation before Generation Z and after Generation X. Generation Y is those born in 1977 until 1995. But some people say Generation Y is those born in early 1980 until early 2000. They are also called Millennial Generation. Generation Y characteristic. Touch safety. They are always use technology in their daily life. They use it to make their job better. Family-centric. Millennial generation strongly prioritize families rather than work, so they prefer flexible work schedule. Achievement-oriented. Millennials are confident, ambitious, and achievement-oriented. They like to look for new challenges and want meaningful work. Crave attention. They crave feedback and guidance. Generation Y may benefit from mentors who can help guide and develop their talents. Prone to job hopping. In the world of work, they're always looking for something new. They have various experience. Team-oriented. They really appreciate teamwork. They want to be included and involved. Positive and negative sides of Generation Y. Positive sides of millennial generation are more critical, multitasking, can contribute in different ways, and creativity is appreciated. Millennial generation also have negative side. There are less ethical, less social skill, want to be fast or instant, and tend to permissive.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself first. My name is Sulthan Daffa. I am from Chemical Engineering Department. And today I want to explain you a little bit about Generation Z. Have you ever heard about Generation Z? If you ever heard about it, let's try jump in. First thing first, what does that mean? What is it all about? Generation Z is the age of group that emerged after baby boomers, which is the baby boomers were born in 1946 until 1964. And after Generation X, which is they were born in 1965 until 1976. And after Generation Y, they were born in 1977 until 1995. And after that, the Generation Z was born. In Indonesia, Generation Z is those born in the middle of 90s, referring to the prime use of commercial internet until the middle of 2000s. I already told you right about Generation Z, but do you curious about the general characteristic for Generation Z? Okay, I have summarized 3 characteristics of Generation Z who stand out the most. First is fluent in technology, second is social, and the third one is multitasking. But what does that mean? First, fluent in technology. They can access various information they need easily and quickly. And what does the social means? They can very intense in communication and interact with all circles, especially with peers through various networking sites. And the last one but not least, multitasking. What does that mean? It means they can read, they can talk, they can watch or listen to the music at the same time. They want things to be done as fast as it can be. Interesting, right? And I have the diagram for Generation Z use of social media. Most of them, Generation Z of course, use media social for daily life. An example given like for news, studying, etc. And Generation Z least use newspaper because newspaper sounds like old school, right? And waste much of tree because we make paper from tree, so let's save the world. Then I have another diagram for media access for educational. For educational, when we're getting older, we are more often use social media such as ebook, YouTube, browser, etc. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening to me for the last 3 minutes. Thank you.
The next generation is the Alpha generation or the next generation. Alpha is the generation who comes after Generation Z. Anyone who born after 2010 are the part of the Generation Alpha. Next, we will talk about the Alpha generation. Why is it called Alpha? It is called Alpha to make a new start for the 21st century generation. From Latin alphabet like X, Y, Z to the Greek alphabet like Alpha. The generation after Alpha generation will be called as Beta generation. Next, the birth. There are 2.5 million generation Alpha born globally every week, and in 2025, they will reach almost 2 billion persons. In general,
Alphas are very familiar with gadgets since they were kids because they start in the year when the iPad was introduced and when the Instagram created. They also called the glass generation because they use the technology with fixed screen. The leap from the Generation Z to Alpha is the largest in the history. The leap is bigger than from the baby boomers to Generation X, who experienced the invention of computer. Why the leap is the biggest? Because the Alphas will interact for the first time with the technologies at much younger age than any other generation. They won't use technologies as the tool, but as a lifestyle.